this will be very accommodating to the regimes that have to sign on in the transition, and a lot of the hard negotiations in terms of standard setting will be accommodated down the road. Next question.
I want to talk to you on regulation and pick up on this gentleman's fine report on the burden of regulation. And I'm coming to it from the point of view of somebody who's on the ground in front of clients all the time. Those of us who are doing this, and I'm referring specifically perhaps to wealth management more than the life side, and MFDA has been brought up. The MFDA is a $17 million a year organization for which those of us who are part of it are paying thousands of dollars each year that we didn't pay in the years past. And I would submit to the regulators that out of this large budget and those thousands of dollars that we're paying for this compliance, which comes at us like a waterfall on our computers, this we have to pay attention to all the time and continually. And in our businesses and in our organizations, with our companies, there are more people in our compliance department than there is in the marketing department with most companies. If that continues, that's a clear problem. We're about regulations. We're not about providing good help to consumers. And I would submit this is not protecting any or very many consumers at all for these millions of dollars that are spent. So I want to point that out to you when you're looking at regulations. You're looking at people here, a mature audience, and the young people are not here. This is a mature audience, gray hair, long hair, short hair, and no hair.
In no particular order.
In no particular order. And we're looking at a problem on regulation. And we can't handle it where we're down at the ground level and this gets imposed on us. So I want to point that out when you're looking at regulation, to take care and think in terms of those of us who are practicing and the consumers that we're relating to.
And we absolutely will. I think it raises an excellent point. One of the things that this project has allowed us to do is to take a step back and to examine not just our own history, but also to look at other approaches. And England was referred to, and England has historically been a much more principle-based, that's the expression they used, regime. You've seen, though, that they have moved towards recognizing that there is also a huge cost in terms of a compliance cost in terms of that regime. The other side of it is the American system is even more regulation intensive, like mandates and rules based, and that's very costly as well. And so the opportunity that we have in terms of going to the culture, in terms of going to the philosophy, it is allowing us to take a deep breath, to look around and to see if there is a better way of doing things. And in my view, there is a better way of doing things. The trick is finding which is the way. But we are open, and we encourage advocates and other organizations to speak to us, and we will be seeking their input on that approach. But I can assure you that we are not in any way committed to the status quo. Okay, last question.
A very simple question that perhaps will highlight whether this becomes more or less burdensome. Once a national regulator is in place, what disappears? You know, when you think of OSC, MFDA, IDA.
Me.
And related to that question is, what's the level of comfort that all the provinces are going to sign on so we don't end up with still a multi-jurisdictional environment where someone decided for whatever reason they didn't want to be part of this, and all of this will be for naught?
I thought you said it was a simple question. On the latter point, there's no certainty. We're hoping to, as I've said through the presentation, we're hoping to build the best model, the model that accommodates, the creation of a new way of doing things, a broader culture of compliance and organization that will be very accommodating and flexible enough so that all provinces will be interested in joining. And I mean all provinces. We'll see. We'll go for coffee in 2012, in March of 2012. I was trying to ignore the first part of the question. Yeah. Well, we hope that obviously the 13 provincial and territorial organizations, I don't want to say disappear, will be integrated into the national regulator. In terms of the SRO structure, the Hawken Committee did hear a lot about the concerns. I know that there's a lot of concerns in this room. There's no intention now of changing the SRO structure. However, we will likely be recommending that the new regulator, once the system is up and running, and it's going to be a long evolutionary process. I shouldn't say long, but it's going to be an evolutionary process. We'll look at the utility and the usefulness of the current SRO structure, and certainly the multiple SRO structures. I should say that the process, the only other organization that I'm aware of that has gone through this process is Australia, and it's taken them a good 15 years to go through that. We're not going to take 15 years. We're looking at 2 and maybe a couple years of accommodating change. But, pardon me? I think they have 8 states, or they had states, and many were against it. They went to court. It was hotly contested, and it took them a very long time. And then when they set it up, they went through a number of changes. We're learning from both what to do and what not to do. But everything. The short answer is everything is on the table in terms of regulatory changes. Right now, it's the SRO piece, which I think is the essence of your question, is too big to deal with right now, and probably not proper for an advisory body like the Transition Office to deal with, but rather to let the new regulatory regime deal with that issue.